Kenya's political unrest deepens as the Chief Justice warns against authorities ignoring court orders. An Egyptian startup tackles social issues with video games. And in our Music Maker segment, the latest video from Zimbabwean Afropop R&B performer Amara Brown. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Egypt began a major assault on Friday against militants on the Sinai Peninsula, where Islamic State attacks have killed soldiers, police and civilians. The military says its aim is to crush the insurgency by a late February deadline set by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The campaign, which involves the Army, Navy, Air Force, Border Patrol and police, takes place ahead of a March election in which al-Sisi is seeking a second term. A military spokesman says the Air Force is targeting militant hideouts in North and Central Sinai, while the Navy tightens control of sea supply lines. The operation is also covering parts of the Nile Delta and the Western Desert, where other militants have waged attacks. Now, 2 people were killed Friday and 55 wounded in a tube bombing inside a mosque in the eastern Libyan city of Benghazi, according to a military source and residents. Friday's explosions occurred during prayers at a small mosque located in the Majuri district. The devices placed in bags at the mosque doors appear to have been activated remotely using a mobile phone. 2 weeks ago, 35 people died in another twin bombing at a mosque in Benghazi. Now, Benghazi is controlled by the Libyan National Army, the dominant force in eastern Libya. To East Africa now, the political unrest in Kenya between President Uhuru Kenyatta and self-declared People's President Raila Odinga has split the country and has its citizens on edge. While Odinga's swearing-in ceremony on January 30th was symbolic, activists and analysts fear the government's heavy-handed response is moving the country towards authoritarian rule. VOA's Daniel Schaff reports from Nairobi.
Protesters marched on Thursday to Kenya's Parliament building, demanding more diversity in President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet. But it's the choice of president that is dividing Kenya. Opposition leader Raila Odinga and his supporters say he was cheated out of victory in last year's election.
This country is in a crisis. Anybody who is saying otherwise is living in denial.
Odinga's so-called inauguration as the symbolic people's president went down well with supporters. But Kenyan authorities responded by suspending independent television broadcasts, arresting opposition leaders, and ignoring court orders to stop.
If they allowed Raila to go ahead and people saw what happened, that would be it. I don't think it was going to cause much of an issue. But you see, they want to show you who is the boss.
Kenya's Chief Justice issued a rare statement warning that the government's actions were against the Constitution and threatening the rule of law.
I think what has been going on is taking us back to 1982, when we had a one-party state, where people used to be picked, opposition used to be oppressed, and I think the state of the nation right now is not very encouraging.
But government supporters are skeptical of the opposition.
I don't think the government is doing any wrong. We are in a situation where people don't value the government, and they also disrespect it.
Watu wameifanya serikali ni kama si kitu ya maana ambapo wanadharau.
Odinga is calling for fresh elections to resolve the standoff.
I don't think there's going to be a winner. At the end of the day, it is the Kenyan people are going to be the biggest losers if this kind of face-off does not come to an end.
Andati says tribal undertones leave little room for a compromise that could unite Kenyans.
As long as Raila is still on the other side, you will have the Kikuyus and Kalejins will stick on the other side. So it amounts to a zero-sum game, you know.
Kenyans are watching to see who will make the next move. Daniel Sheriff, VOA News, Nairobi.
Kenyan lawyer and opposition member Miguna Miguna, who was recently deported by the Kenyan government, says he is determined to regain his status as a Kenyan citizen and return home. He spoke to VOA Friday by phone from Canada.
I'm challenging the illegal action by the illegitimate government of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. And today my lawyers filed a petition seeking to invalidate that whimsical decision by Matiang'i, and also seeking to reinstate my Kenyan passport, and also seeking an order requiring them to facilitate my travel back to Nairobi. So that was filed today.
Well, Miguna, who was accused of treason for attending the symbolic presidential inauguration of opposition leader Raila Odinga, insists that Odinga is the true president of Kenya and not Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, Ethiopia is set to release 746 more prisoners, including a journalist and a senior opposition official who were jailed for conspiracy to commit terrorist acts. That's according to the Attorney General's office. The state-affiliated Fana Broadcasting Corporation says the names have been forwarded to President Mulatu Teshome, who has the power to grant their freedom. Most were detained for alleged involvement in mass protests that erupted 3 years ago in the Oromia and Amhara regions over accusations of land grabbing and political marginalization. On Thursday, the Attorney General's office published a list of 746 inmates for pardon, including journalist Eskinder Nega and opposition politician Andualem Arage. Eskinder's wife, Sekelem Fasil, told VOA Eskinder refused to sign the letter of pardon, stating that he was a member of a banned political organization, Ginbond 7. Now, for more insight of the latest developments in Ethiopia, Tedale Lema, who is the editor-in-chief and publisher of Addis Standard magazine, joins me live via Skype from Frankfurt. Good evening, Tedale.
Good evening, Vincent.
So is this more of good news out of Addis Ababa, would you say?
Well, if they implement what they say, I think it is going to be a good news. But the information that is coming out today indicates that, as usual, they're putting conditions for the release of these political prisoners, including high-profile ones, Eskinder Nega and Andualem Arage. As Sarkalem said, that they have been made to sign a letter asking for pardon, and I think they are refusing to do so. So, as usual, there is a condition that is put in place for the release, and this clouds the entire decision by the government yesterday.
So, in a way, they want these prisoners to acknowledge that they have been involved in acts of terrorism in order to be pardoned, and therefore they're saying we never belong to any terrorist organization and we will not sign this, right?
Yeah, this is in line with the tradition of past practices by the government. They did that during the post-2005 election, where they have had about more than 100 people prosecuted for serious crimes. They have had some successes in that. But I don't think the likes of prisoners like Eskinder Nega will be willing to sign that kind of pardon, because that would then, it would mean that they are admitting to the wrongs that they have been charged for. And
given that they will be pardoned and released anyway, what are the implications of them just signing on that piece of paper and saying, yeah, we did that and we ask for forgiveness?
Well, we have to leave it for the people. They are the ones that have been arrested, prosecuted, tried, and convicted. So this decision is entirely theirs. Of course, it's tempting to say, why don't they just sign and leave the prison, because the family have been put through a lot. The children are growing without the parents, and the families have been left without the support. So it's easy for us to say, but for someone like Eskinder and Andualem Arage, knowing that they have been innocent throughout this ordeal, it could be difficult for them to morally to accept guilt over what they have always been denying they haven't done.
Indeed, such a serious charge. We do appreciate you joining us and giving us your insights. Thanks a lot, Tidale.
Thank you.
Well, Tidale Lema is the editor-in-chief and founder of the Addis Standard magazine. Now, once a stalwart of the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, Jacob Zuma now risks losing the presidency. Zuma has been a controversial figure since before he took office in 2009, weathering repeated scandals, including rape charges and multiple corruption allegations that have recently been reviewed by prosecutors. Viewers, Anita Powell has more in this Zuma profile.
Very few people have divided South Africa as much as President Jacob Zuma. Mounting allegations of corruption and mismanagement have dogged him since he took office in 2009. But he has weathered 8 no-confidence votes.
And therefore, the motion of no confidence in the president is accordingly negative.
And even laughed in the faces of his critics. But his recent replacement as head of the African National Congress has significantly weakened the increasingly unpopular leader. Observers say he's long been an intriguing figure.
There are a number of different Jacob Zumas. There's the Jacob Zuma who is the liberation fighter, who spent time in jail, the struggle veteran. But there was always the other Jacob Zuma, the Jacob Zuma that had deep clouds of corruption and grafts hanging over his head.
Zuma's successor as ANC leader, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, promises to restore the party's credibility.
These challenges have been exacerbated by state capture, through which billions of rands have been illegally diverted to individuals, corruption in state-owned enterprises and other public institutions have undermined our government's programs to address poverty and unemployment, and they have weakened those institutions.
It is not the corruption allegations that bother South Africans most, say analysts. It is the pain they inflicted on the economy and on the party once led by the man Zuma considers his mentor, Nelson Mandela.
Zuma hasn't been able to grasp the mettle when it comes to innovative economic policy in South Africa. And without clear policy making, replaced by graft and corruption, the Zuma years largely has become a battle. It's been a battle for survival for the ANC, a battle for survival for most South Africans who saw graft and corruption really being at the forefront of policy rather than growth-oriented policies that would alleviate the very high unemployment rates in South Africa.
This, in part, is why the ANC clearly feels it cannot wait until Zuma's term ends in 2019. Pressure on him to resign has mounted in recent weeks. It is now so strong that even Zuma may be realizing it is time to say goodbye. Anita Powell, VOA News, Cape Town.
Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. And check our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at @VoaVinceMcCory. Now coming up, how Egyptian video game developers are bringing local perspectives to interactive gaming. Stay with us. Well, an Egyptian startup is designing video games in which the objective is not just to win, but to become aware of social issues. His viewer is Faith Lapidas.
You've got to focus to play a video game, which makes it a great platform for raising social awareness. And that's what the Egyptian startup Castling Studios is trying to do. One of its games, called Bara'ah, or Innocence, was created to educate people about female genital mutilation. It targets young girls in villages, and in the game, the player helps a girl escape a hospital and break walls, representing society's misconceptions. The 8 company founders, who all studied game development at Cairo's Information Technology Institute, say they bring local sensibility to their work.
We are trying to offer something new because when the West develops games, even on the Middle East or the Egyptian culture, they do so from their own perspective. But when we develop the games, we make them better because we know more about the experiences we have lived through and continue to see the wrong practices happening, and we know what the right things are.
Another game created by the company, called Hire Me, Thank You, helps manual workers learn communication skills for interviews. The story revolves around what someone should be doing before leaving for work, and user response has been positive.
When people see it, they are amazed that we are creating games addressing these issues, and they are really entertained by the game itself. They say it is fun and that they are waiting to see how the game ends and solves the issue.
The developers have created more than 7 games, most still in the prototype phase. They'll eventually be released for free. I'm Faith Lapidus, VOA News.
World champion and Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles has 19 medals to her name. But there's one accolade that has always been out of her reach until now. VOA's Tina Train met with the all-star gymnast to discuss her next big goal.
She is a 4'8".
She is the most decorated American gymnast of all time. And now Simone Biles has her sights set on an even bigger prize.
I was committed to UCLA before I went to the Olympics, and unfortunately I deferred, and then I didn't go because after the Olympics things got crazy. I traveled so much.
In her quest for a college degree, Biles' travels have now led her to the virtual doorstep of an online school.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to announce that I'm now a global ambassador for the University of the People, the world's first tuition-free accredited online university.
The accredited online university offers bachelor's and master's degrees in business as well as undergraduate degrees in computer science and health science. The university relies solely on donations and volunteer educators from schools like Yale, NYU, and UC Berkeley. Its unconventional approach is perfect for its latest student, whose journey thus far has been anything but ordinary.
I haven't had a traditional school experience for a while, actually going into a classroom and sitting down, and the traditional way won't work for me, and I understand that, so it's okay. Online it is.
Perhaps it's a bid for a bit of normalcy after the recent sex abuse scandal involving Larry Nassar rocked the gymnastics world. Biles' name was one of the biggest to be added to the list of victims, but she's ready to move on.
I didn't want the headlines once I go out and compete again to be, that be the title of me rather than what I have to offer for the sport.
Biles has dreams beyond gymnastics too, pursuing a bachelor's degree in business administration with the same determination that has defined her athletic career.
I feel like I've always been dedicated, and I never stopped until I got what I wanted, so being driven helps.
Tina Trin, VOA News, New York.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, the Afro-pop sounds of Zimbabwean performer Amara Brown. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. An app that personalizes public display screens to cater to individuals' tastes is being tested at England's Lancaster University. Users first download Tacita app, which provides a list of content from providers pre-approved by screen owner and developers. This offer information such as TV channels, bus departures and weather forecasts. By the time the user arrives within a few feet of the display, it will show information pre-selected by the user. The project is ongoing with one unresolved challenge: how to determine which content is displayed when there are conflicting requests from multiple users. Now, in other app news, a smartphone app creator is hoping to meet the needs of 3D printer owners looking for an easy way of producing 3D files of objects to print. Qlon, a free app made by Israel's IQ Vision Technologies, turns your camera phone into a 3D scanner that leads you through the process using augmented reality to scan any object. The software uses sophisticated computer vision algorithms to turn a series of 2D images into a 3D model that can be manipulated and edited to change the color, texture, or size. The files can be uploaded to social media or exported in a variety of file formats that are suitable for 3D printing. Currently, just an iPhone app, the company says. An Android version is coming soon. Well, and finally, there are two different ways to watch Steven Soderbergh's murder mystery series, Mosaic. One way is available in a linear 6-part series on HBO. The other is by downloading the app, where you can pick which narratives you want to follow and watch in whatever order you want, with extra clues popping up on your screen like a push notification. Now, scenes were shot from multiple viewpoints to help viewers learn the various perspectives of different characters. Mosaic is available on HBO on demand, and the app is available for download on iPhones and Androids. And that's what's trending today. And it's Music Maker Friday, and today we introduce you to to a music video, Mukoko. Amara Brown, a Zimbabwean Afro pop and R&B singer, songwriter. Now, to tell us more about her is Heather Maxwell, host of VOA's Music Time in Africa. Welcome back to
the U.S.
To the U.S. In fact, you've been traveling.
Yes, I have.
Yes, and you went to Zimbabwe.
I was in Zimbabwe for about 5 days.
Yes.
Fantastic trip.
And you met up with this lady.
Yes, I did.
But many other musicians, right?
Many musicians.
Yes.
I interviewed about 14 musicians in all.
Yeah. But tell us a little bit about Amara Brown.
Okay, Amara Brown is... she's doing great. She's at the top right now. She's the top female Afro-pop artist in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And I sat down with her and we talked about her career. And, you know, she is the daughter of a very famous also musician, Andy Brown.
Yeah.
And his wife, not her mother, but her stepmom, was Chiboniso, the late Chiboniso.
Oh.
So she comes from a real musical family, but she does her own thing. It's Afro-pop. And this is one of my favorite videos. She has
Mukoko.
newer ones. Yeah, this is Mukoko though. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I think she really owns it. Let's watch this Mukoko collaboration between her and the young man.
Hey, been trying to get to you, but now that I'm here, I'll be your protector, be on my hub. I'll give you my heart. Baby, I guess it's your mother. Dire mukazi chaiye na siana nejepato. Dinero raro no tapira kungero vamo mukoko. Dibateru oko, baby. Dibateru oko, baby. Dibateru oko, baby. Ona kunaka. Mukoko. 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 They love you so much, I will not give up. I'm stealing your heart.
Very youthful, but very Zimbabwean in flavor.
Yes.
You know, did she say to you whether she's been influenced by family, or this is just a young kid growing up and embracing whatever is is hip.
She told me that, you know, she always was encouraged by her father and her mother to express, to be artistic and to follow their own path.
Yeah.
So she took time to sort of just listen to her own heart and what she likes to do. And she says she really likes the Afro-pop sound. She said she's really a pop artist. But when I interviewed her, she played me and sang a beautiful song on the mbira. And it was really traditional sounding.
Oh,
so she has those roots.
So did you get the feeling that, or the sense that the Zimbabwean young musicians are kind of really holding on to the Zimbabwean sound, the Zimbabwean flavor?
I would say so, especially in their singing. Some of the guitar styles, and when they, of course, play mbira or marimba, but that singing, the way they, I'm trying to learn how to do it, but I won't embarrass myself right now. But it's the singing style that's really Zimbabwean.
Why don't we listen to some more of her Mokoko, because it's really cool. So first I want to thank Heather for yet another really fantastic music segment. And of course, you can always learn more about Heather Maxwell and our VOA radio show by visiting Facebook and typing in the keywords Music Time in Africa, and then you can see whatever time program can be heard in your area. Get more information about some of our featured artists. And we want to close our show today with more of the music of Amara Brown. From all of us here in Washington, I want to wish you a great weekend.
Hey, been trying to get to you, but now that I'm here, I'll be your protector, be on my hopo. I'll give you my heart. Baby, I guess it's your mother. They love you so much, bayagu kalela. I will not give up, nizaba valela. I'm stealing your heart, mina nginjenge sela bafuna ukusalela. Just cause I'm with you, bathi kuzapela. You set me free, you can call me Mandela. I will just love you forever and never, and shout out a love for my people. I will sing for you and make you my hubby, but you gotta treat me like a treasure, my love, babe. Oh, I will sing for you and make you my hubby, yeah, but you gotta treat me like a treasure. You gotta treat me like a treasure.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Today's episode won't cost you anything.
Freebie.
Let's see what this one is about.
Anna, I love my job.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
I get so many freebies from the bands I write about. CDs, t-shirts, water bottles, even tickets to see them perform.
Wow. The only freebie I ever got from my